Hello and welcome to a new video. So did you know that some independent publishers have sold their KDP businesses for literal hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's actually not as unachievable as you may think. So in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the new book that I'm releasing onto Amazon KDP and how I plan to structure an entire brand around that book, which you're going to be able to track on Amazon at any point that you like, so that you can see how I'm building that side of my KDP business. Nothing is going to be left out here. And of course, I will be using my actual books as demonstrations throughout this video and how I plan to make my brand an authority in those niches. So once again, this is going to be a video packed full of information. So stick around until the end because it is a big one. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris and I've been self-publishing online for around 10 years through Amazon. And I'm here to share that experience with you. So a quick note here, I'd be over the moon if I could hit 20,000 subscribers before my birthday on the 30th of November, which I know is a tall order, but if you do enjoy my content and you haven't subscribed, that would be amazing. So let's make this video a little bit easier to break down as there's a lot going on here. So here's what I'm going to be covering inside. We're going to be taking a quick look at my latest book that I'm publishing onto Amazon, which is going to go live shortly for you to track whenever you like. We're going to take a look at how this book factors into my long-term brand vision. We're going to take a look at how I'm creating multiple books within that niche to become an authority figure. We're going to take a look at how I'm increasing the value of my publishing business by growing it further through TikTok and Etsy and email lists and things like that. Okay, so from there, we're going to end the video by taking a look at the reality of investing into KDP, being scared to dream bigger when it comes to a KDP business, and then we're going to touch upon my 7-day boot camp. Okay, so there's a lot going on. Stick around for the whole thing. So let's get right into this, and I assume the first thing people want to see with these type of videos are the new books that I'm releasing. So let's go ahead and take a look at that new book now and then discuss the long-term vision of this brand and how each book published alongside it is imperative to creating a brand that is extremely valuable on and off of Amazon. Okay. So let's go into my account here and take a look at the latest book that I'm publishing. So it is this book here, which is the Time Telling Workbook. Now, this book isn't live yet because there is a grammatical error on the cover. Now, the first person that can actually spot the grammatical error on the cover will get a free copy of my beginner's course. So let's just load up the mock-up image so you can see the cover slightly better. So like I say, this is a time-telling workbook. It's got 120 days of reproducible clock reading drills with answers for kids. Okay, so this is the cover. This is what's going to be uploaded onto Amazon soon for you to check out. And like I say, it's going under the same brand name as the book that I previously created, which was the addition and subtraction workbook. And it's all going under the same name, which is Raydog Maths, which is the brand that I'm planning to build so that you can track and see what I'm doing with that. So let's just look at something quickly to put this into perspective and how valuable your KDP business can be when you build it the right way. And you know, you should take this with a pinch of salt because this is for the sake of perspective at the moment, but it does kind of make sense. So this book here that I uploaded a few months ago now, which was the addition and subtraction workbook, I think I created this book and managed to upload it onto Amazon within a week, I think it was. So if I just go ahead and check my account here. Okay, so since this book was released, so this is this book here, the addition and subtraction workbook. So what we can see since this book was released a couple months ago, we have 263 sales, and I think most of them are from the US store. So yeah, most of them are from the US store. And the profit for a book of this length, I think was like $1.10. It's averaging around 80 sales a month at the moment, I think, which is probably around $100 profit per month, right? And especially now that there's no ads being run to this book, we're looking at pretty much pure profit. And I think when these books become more so in season, like Q1 and Q2, we're going to be looking closer to like $150 to $200 per month profit. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is adding more similar books in this niche that have that are going to be connected to this brand. Okay, so I think I'm going to be looking toward maybe 15 to 20 in the next sort of 6 months under this pen name. And you know, pinch of salt here, but I'm going to look at making around hopefully between 1.5k and 2k per month with this pen name after all those books have been uploaded. Okay, so have you ever seen people selling their publishing accounts? I think there's a couple YouTubers that have done so for quite an impressive amount of money. I can't remember both of their names, but I think one of them was maybe Sean Dowett, but they showed off the amounts that they sold their businesses for. So generally the value of an online business, I think they determined was like 30 to 40 times your monthly income. So obviously this is in theory, but something that's making like $2,000 a month would be worth like 60 to 80 grand. Okay. And I guess that number would fluctuate on factors like if you have an email list, what your niche is, your ad spend, etc., etc. But you get the point. And this alone isn't far off being worth 6 figures on this basis. So yeah, as we can see on Flipper Empire here, which is a website where people sell their online businesses or whatever, we can see that people are sort of typically selling them for around 30 times their monthly income, which is honestly pretty mad. And when you look at KDP as a business, you come to realize that if you build this up in the right way, you could have something incredibly valuable that you could sell at the end of it all. And I know that it might sound crazy, but it's actually pretty achievable for people like us to sell these businesses for like 6 figures. I'm not saying you should or that I ever will, but that's what keeps me motivated to keep producing books the way that I do, because you never know, at someday you might want to pull the plug and just cash out on these things, but you have to build up to this level. So let's take a look at some of the steps that I plan to take for this brand name that in the long run could make them extremely valuable, and then dive deeper into exactly what those books will be. And bear in mind, this is just one side of my publishing efforts, and I know that this approach works because it's pretty much what I'm doing with my coloring books. So just for some perspective here, I changed the way that I approach publishing around a year ago, and now the 2 new coloring books that I've just released, they have combined around 500 sales already the first 7 days of this month, and I think I managed to reach a BSR for one of them of around 7,000 to 8,000, which is pretty incredible for an independent publisher. And the approach that I'm taking with that is pretty much what I'm going to be doing with these books as well. Okay, so what we want is to become an authority in our niche, and ultimately I think that's what everyone should strive to achieve, is to become an authority in our niche, is a go-to place for customers that are looking to buy what we're selling. So the next thing that we can do to start achieving this is to go deeper into our niche, okay, and show the customers that we're the ones that they should buy from and keep buying from, because we offer solutions for all of their needs, okay, which adds up to us becoming an authority brand. So that doesn't mean just thoughtlessly throwing up as many books as we can in a certain niche, especially a niche like this, because we really need to have a good understanding of our audience when it comes to these sensitive niches. Okay, so for example, what I'm doing here, like I said before, 3 months ago or so, I published this addition and subtraction workbook for a second grader, and now the book that I'm adding, the second book that I'm adding to this brand, is going to be this time telling workbook for children as well. Okay, so we're going deeper into this niche, and the reason we want to fill out our catalog with these books that are more specific and niche down is because once someone buys one of our books, there's going to be a good chance that if they like the product, they're going to come back to Amazon and they're going to need more books in this niche at some point, and they're going to potentially buy from us again. So that's why it's important to have all these connected to one kind of brand name. So imagine now what that would be like if we had, say, 15 books under the same pen name in a pretty big niche, right? So let's just come over to Canva here to take a look at how this sort of plan is working out. So basically what we had already to begin with was our addition and subtraction workbook, and then we're going to look at entering into a different niche, but that stays within the kind of early education domain. So we've gone with a time telling workbook. Okay, so what we can do from there is start branching off of these books. Okay, so for example, with the addition and subtraction workbook, what we could do is then to look at creating a different addition and subtraction workbook. So for example, I think the next one that I create will be an addition and subtraction triple digit workbook. Okay, so that's obviously going to be for a different age group, and we're going to do the same thing here for our time telling workbooks. So, there's not going to be one set audience that just wants time telling workbooks. They're going to be people that want these for different age groups as well. So we're going to look at creating time telling workbooks for different ages as well. So obviously if we're going up in age, then they're going to have to make them a little bit harder, and we're going to have to adjust and fully understand what that audience is looking for as well. So from there we can look off branching from that into time telling and money counting workbooks. Okay, so again, it's a completely different niche, and people will come back once you connect all these books together. If they're all connected, people will come back and they will look to buy these other books from you. Okay, so that's the power of having a brand and connecting all these books together, because eventually you're going to look like an authority in your niche, provided that you research what the customer needs very thoroughly before uploading books, right? And this is great because they might start here. So let's assume that I've padded out my catalog a little bit further. They might start here with an addition and subtraction workbook, then they might come all the way over to here and look for like a different time telling workbook, or they might start here then come back and look for a triple digit workbook, and it's just going to all be connected eventually when we have those sort of like 15 books here. Okay, so like I say, creating that kind of authority ecosystem within this niche. Okay, So that's going to move me on to my next point about becoming an authority in your niche. And that is by entering into niches that not everyone can create books in easily. So basically books that are hard to create manually, right? So these type of books, any type of early education book, puzzle book, or whatever type of book, like this is obviously going to be hard to create. But if we pair that barrier of entry with the ability to go very niche down, we can start quite quickly and quite easily building up an authority in that niche, okay? So for example, if we wanted to go deeper into our niche and start adding to our brand, we could do that quite easily, because with these type of books, there are so many directions that you can take with this. And I'm just looking through the software that I've been using to create the time telling books. So this is the Time Worksheet Generator app. So basically it's going to give us the ability to create books that are typically hard to create whilst allowing us to enter into like micro niches within that niche, if that makes sense. So for example, just playing around with it here, I'm not going to go into too much detail until I do an actual review on this product. But what we can see here is that we can create loads of different types of these clock problems. So just put a few together a minute ago. So if we wanted to have problems that were all on the half past, we could do that. If we wanted to have problems that were all on the hour, we could do that. If we wanted to have problems where the child has to actually draw the hands onto the clock, we can have that as well. If we wanted to have quarter past problems as well, we could do that. And again, this is going to help us target, like this flexibility is going to help us target the different age groups, okay? So we can start filling out our brand with different types of books, okay? If that makes sense. So obviously before you create these type of pages, these type of books, you have to research the niche thoroughly, okay? It is a sensitive niche, you have to get this right. And the reason why this book here has got such good reviews, like 13 very good reviews on it at the moment, it is because we did the research beforehand to make sure that what we're offering is what the customer is looking for the age range. Okay, so you're gonna have to do the same before you start creating any books. Please bear that in mind before creating books in any of these apps. Okay, so again, like it gives us the flexibility to start creating things that we typically wouldn't create before. And what I think I'll look to do, especially with this type of niche, is to sort of branch out into these kind of more so interactive books here. So just really quickly put this one together where we've got an image of a child waking up, and we have what time did good kids wake up for school, and then they have to fill it in with 8 o'clock or whatever it is. And then we have another image, what time do late kids wake up, and then you have to fill in the answer for 9 o'clock. Or, I just put that together very quickly. But I think this is the next type of book that I'm going to start offering people in this brand. Is something a little bit more interactive, something that children can engage with much better. And the thing is from here, like what I want to do eventually is to kind of start moving on to different age groups as well. So for example, we have these kind of like time elapsed problems that the child would have to work out the difference between the two times. So obviously that's going to be for a slightly higher age group. And again, like once you're targeting that slightly higher age group, that's a whole new audience that you're going to be looking into. Okay, so the great thing about that is that if you're targeting a certain age group, there will be at some point, if you offer a good book, of course, there will be at some point where the customer will need something for an older audience, because obviously the child is going to get older. So that's how you can kind of create this sort of stickiness of your audience within these niches, okay, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's why I never have a problem using apps like this or recommending apps like this to my audience, because the flexibility that you have here is quite incredible. And like I say, I will go over these in much more detail in the full review on the 11th when the software actually gets released. But as you can see, there are lots of different directions that you can take with this. So I think this is kind of my, I suppose, pet peeve when it comes to people that suggest that Amazon is completely saturated. You have to be stupid to think you can make sales in any of these niches, etc., etc. And the thing is, I hate this because the reality is that there is not just one niche, there is literal hundreds. So if someone was looking for an early education workbook, there's never going to be just one book that magically fulfills every need of the customer, right? People are actively looking for much more specific books, and they're looking for ones that are actually good as well. And even then, even if there's loads of competition, like tons of it, if people buy this software, then put up loads of books like this, there's going to be competition, right? But it doesn't matter if we're on point with our niche research and our marketing. If we publish the way that I've been doing it, we can still compete easily. So I'm going to give you an example here. I don't know if you watched, I produced a video, I think it was maybe a few weeks ago, about this Christmas word search that I'd created. So Christmas word searches, they've been a thing for years, man. This is nothing new. It's not a hidden niche. It's been done so many times. And when I released this video, the video that I created, I think had like 15,000 views on it. So naturally that's going to add to the competition, and it's going to add to competition of my book. I think another YouTuber made a video about Christmas word searches, and their video got about 50,000 views on that as well. So even just from like the whole YouTube thing, there was a ton of people looking at creating these books, and especially when people saw that the BSR on this book was looking good. Now that I've turned all the ads off, the BSR is doing quite well, and it's going to continue to do well as we sort of approach the middle of November. So a lot of people saw this, a lot of people know about it. But the thing is, when we do things in a certain way, I'd say the way that I approach publishing, is that we don't have to worry about competition. So if we just come over to incognito mode and do another search, so it's been a little while since I've searched for my book here, but if we just come across now, and if we pair all these things together, the way that we're producing these books, to get visibility on the first page for their search terms, what we'll find hopefully is that I'm still ranked extremely high for this book. Okay, so the ads have been, I think all but one ad campaign, which is like a $5 spend this month, has been turned off for this book now. So the reality is that if I'd looked at this niche and gone, you know what, it's flooded, saturated, blah, blah, blah. If I'd done that for my coloring books or any type of book that I produce, would never see these sales. And the reality is, like, I have less than 40 live books on my account, and those books alone are books just like this. They're just like the workbooks that I'm working on at the moment. There's nothing special or hidden here. They're all in pretty competitive niches, right? But the thing is, when we do our marketing right, when we do our research right, we can easily get found on the front pages. Okay, so the way that I'm approaching publishing, I think now that I've uploaded another coloring book just 2 days ago. I think the percentage now for the first pages that I've hit on the last 12 books, I think is 100% still. Okay, so like I say, when you adopt a certain approach to publishing, I honestly don't think you need to worry about the competition. Okay, so what's great about being able to use software that helps us enter into niches that are typically hard to create books in is that because not everyone's going to have access to the software or similar software, is that the competition is going to be less. So the chance of us being found is going to be even easier than, even if we were producing like coloring books or activity books or whatever, it's going to be even easier because most people aren't going to have access to this type of software. And trust me, even when people buy this software, it's going to be a drop in the ocean of your concerns. And I keep telling people one of the biggest things that will hold you back is worrying about your competition. Amazon is a competitive marketplace, and that is awesome. That is what we want. Okay, so that's going to move me on nicely to the next thing that I wanted to talk about here, and this is applicable across your entire KDP business, and that's the reality of investing. So I know that a few people watching this are probably huffing and puffing because I'm recommending software and that you spend money on certain things, but if you want something bigger, if you want something that grows, something that is worth six figures, if you want something that 98% of publishers won't ever achieve, then you have to invest. Like, every single book that you create will require an investment, be that time or be that money. Okay, so for example, like word search, to be successful here, I had to invest into the software. The addition and subtraction workbook, I had to invest into the software. Okay, so the time telling workbook that I'm uploading, had to invest into the software. Like, you have to invest into something. Okay, and that's not something that I shy away from, because if you want your KDP business to take off, you have to dream bigger and make decisions that are best for you. So if you don't have a use, or you don't see a use for software like this, then don't get it. Don't get it because you can, or because it's on offer, or because Chris is going to use it. Think about what you want to build, and if you really see this as a long-term business and not just something to get you, wealth quickly, because it's not going to happen. So for me, I'd rather invest for the long run instead of just wasting my time trying to pump out low content books for free. And if I'm going to waste something, I'd rather it be money than time, because I know I can at least make the money back. And I wish someone had laid this out for me sooner, like a few years ago, because I would love to have my life back that I wasted on publishing information and strategies and other like online get rich quick schemes that just do not work and that will just waste your life. So whenever you see like a video that's like, hey, you can put together a notebook or whatever book using this or whatever it is, that's only a part of it. So the chance of you being able to upload something for free that's not going to take you any time, so where there's no investment in time or money, the chance of you being successful from those pursuits is probably close to zero. Okay, so ranting aside, the next factor for increasing your book brand value is by connecting your books together. Okay, so you really don't want to underestimate this. I'm going to start with A+ content. Okay, so I don't know percentage wise how effective A+ content is. They say it's around 10%, but the thing is, when it comes to using A+ content correctly, you can actually kind of start linking your books together within it. Okay, so I can't remember if I showed off my notebooks. I don't think I did, but basically I created like a series of Halloween notebooks. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 of them, and on the listings I had A+ content for them, and inside of that I also had them linked together. Okay, so I'm going to show you what I mean using someone else's example, because the notebooks are one that I'm going to save for another time. So yeah, if we just take a look at this publisher's A+ content, for example, here. So what I was doing the kind of same sort of thing here, where I was creating the A+ content. It didn't actually look as good as this one, but at the end of it all, what I was doing was what they're doing here, and that's linking your other books. Okay, so that's what I plan to do for the books I'm creating in this new brand, is to make sure that I have, at least 4 of them, so that I can showcase them in the A+ content. Okay, so I'm not going to go into detail about how you do this, because it's going to take too long. It's going to take away from the point of this video, but that's the next step, right? Is when you're actually creating your listing, is to present it in this kind of branded way that links everything together. Okay, so for example, we'd have like on the time telling one that I'm going to be doing, I'll look at having the A+ content made similar to this. Obviously it will look different because of the niche, and then when the other books are produced, is to have them showing up here. So like an addition, subtraction, I'd probably make it so it's all age group relevant. I'm not quite sure yet, but different time telling workbooks, and yeah, whatever, you understand what I'm getting at here. So what the customer can do is, once they see this, maybe they don't quite want that book that you're offering, they might be interested in a different one, or they've already bought this one, they can come to this sort of section here and then open up the next one that they want. Okay, so that's a really powerful feature that allows you to sort of connect your books together on Amazon itself. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing that we can do to increase the value of our brand. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, and what I'm currently doing with my coloring books, is from here we can look at increasing the reach of every book that we produce. Okay, so for example, if you have a book where it makes sense to have an ebook version, a paperback, and a hardback version, an audio version, then you should definitely pursue that. But for books like I'm creating at the moment, so the workbooks and the coloring books, obviously you can't do that, but we can still increase the reach by offering these as printables on Etsy, for example. So let me just show you something very quickly, and I'm not ready to actually show off my Etsy store, but I will in upcoming videos. So if we just come over to Etsy and look for these kind of coloring book printable pages here, I'm just going to use Jade Summer as an example, because that's the obvious one that everyone uses. But basically what we're doing is just taking the interiors that we have already upload onto Amazon, and I checked this the other day, actually made sure that Amazon are okay with you using like your existing content and selling it elsewhere. I think it would be an issue if you were using it to give away freely on the internet, but if you're selling it in other areas, then that's absolutely fine. So what I'm doing is creating these kind of printables, so you're just making the most of everything that you have made. So we're going to take the coloring pages, bring them over to Etsy, create these listings for every book that we produce, and then try and make sales this way. Okay, so my store is kind of, I have the listing ready, but I've not gone through with it because I'm a little bit new to this scene. But like I say, hopefully I'll be showing this off in the future. But you get the point here, like people can come over, download it as a PDF or whatever file it is, take it to a print shop or print off at home. And the great thing about this is that they can continue to use it over and over. They can print off as many as they like. So yeah, again, it's just another way of sort of reaching out to different areas for your brand, right? And I think I'll probably end up doing the same thing with the worksheet stuff as well. What's this? Go away. But yeah, I think if you have these type of books, and now that we're approaching, well, we're well into Q4, we're going to hit like the peak of it very, very soon. I think it's a good idea to get these out there and try and make some additional sales from your work, right? So let's move on here and talk about another big factor, and you've probably heard a lot of people talking about this, but that is collecting emails, so creating an email list of people that are buying from you. Okay, so this is just something that I'm experimenting with at the moment. I do need to check all the sort of the terms and what Amazon allows you to actually do in terms of what you can put in your book and stuff like that. But I do have a website for my coloring books that do collect a few emails. So for that, like I give away like a few free pages, for example, in exchange for an email, and then down the line you'll be able to promote your new books to them. Okay, so that's a very long-term kind of thing, because collecting emails this way is going to be very slow. But what the other thing that you can see people do, and you've probably seen a few YouTube videos about this as well, is that they put QR codes into their book. Now, so obviously you would just have your phone and you turn the camera on, point it at the QR code like this book instructs you, and that's going to take you to another book listing. So I don't know how effective this is. I assume it is okay with Amazon. I've not double checked that. But if you want more information on this, I think you can check out the Life Graduate channel. I think he has Romney Nelson. I think he has a few videos on this, so definitely go and check that out. But this is just another way of, sort of building that authority, linking all your books together, collecting emails and things like that. Okay, so this can be very, very powerful in the long run. Okay, so moving on to the next factor here that can increase the value of our brand is social media marketing. So I'm very new to this, but I don't know, did you recently receive an email about this whole Amazon attribution thing here? So I've not looked into this enough, but my understanding, and from what it blatantly says on the screen at the moment, is that you set up your Amazon attribution management for your non-Amazon campaigns across channels such as email, social media, paid search, display, influencer, and affiliate marketing. So I'm making the assumption that you're going to be able to now track your external marketing efforts. So for me, I think this is great because I've been looking into doing the whole TikTok thing, and I think that's one of the things people like. They start creating these like TikTok things. They go onto Pinterest and Facebook and try and market their books, but you don't know if that's actually working for you. So if this is what I think it is, then that's going to be amazing. So what I had in mind for TikTok was to kind of like, so what I've done is order one of my coloring books, like an author copy, getting that delivered to the house, obviously, and then to record it for a short video, like being opened up, have like some trending music or some trending like voiceover type of thing. I don't fully understand TikTok, and use the whole hashtag things and all that, and show off the interior of the book. And I think that's a really nice way to build your brand off of Amazon as well. So that's something I'm going to be looking into. Now, I don't know anything about doing this. There are some people, some of the other KDP YouTube guys that do have videos on TikTok marketing, so maybe you can go and check them out. We have a few different people that are doing it. But yeah, once I learn more, and once I start having some success with this, then I'll be able to relay that information back to you as well. Okay, so I just want to end this video on two things here. So I'm going to talk about my free 7-day bootcamp that you're going to get if you pick up the Time Worksheet Generator app through me. But what I also want to talk about is dreaming bigger as well. So let's just quickly touch upon this. And I know it's kind of one of those cringy mindset things. I don't really make videos about this because sometimes you either have it or you don't. But I think it's important to talk about, and I want to talk about my experience here, and that was being scared to dream bigger, okay? Especially with KDP. And this whole topic is something, like I say, I don't really talk about often, but put it this way, the biggest thing that ever held me back from making good sales with KDP was just doing what everyone else was doing. And, that's the kind of approach which is normal now, which is just making books quickly, throwing them up on Amazon without actually thinking where they're going to land, not working on your brand or anything, no long-term vision in mind, just hoping for the best, basically. And the reason I was doing that was because I was scared to be ambitious, like scared to be different, scared to spend money, scared to fail. And, this change came for me, and it will come for you at some point as well. Like this switch in your head will just flip, okay? But for me, I published a ton of my books a while ago, almost all of them. And I told myself, like, this is, it's no good just slaving away uploading books onto KDP because there's the reward was not proportionate to the time it took. And that's what people are doing, like every day, grinding away, hoping that they're going to get lucky. So recently I set myself a stupid goal, and I said to myself, I want to compete with Jade Summer with my coloring books, okay? And I know that's crazy because I'm just one person working on this, but the goal is massive. So the work that goes into it now has to be with that goal in mind. And to give you an example, I don't want to keep going on about these coloring books, but I have 3 coloring books. 2 of them alone have made like 500 sales, I think, in the first week of November. Both of them were number 1 new releases. One of them got down to a BSR of 7,000. They are in a competitive niche, which is like just simple adult coloring books. There's nothing special about them. You've probably seen them 100 times on Amazon before, these type of books. And I think what sucks about the whole online thing, especially when you feel like you're being misled, is that if you don't make these changes, you will end up dying a dreamer. And like that's the attitude that I try and have with this, is that I do not want to die with this dream, or like having a business that I could possibly sell for a lot of money at some point. Okay, so what I want to happen here, and I'm going to lead this on to my kind of 7-day free bootcamp thing that I'm giving away with the software. I want to be able to show off what I'm doing, as you can see from these videos, but be able to do it in a kind of group fashion. Okay, so it's going to take you from day 1 to day 7, where you're going to be able to produce a book the same way that I'm producing mine. And since this is going to be running through a Facebook group, it's going to give us a chance to all engage with each other. So you'll have quicker access to my thoughts and opinions on certain things. You're going to follow how I created this, the time telling workbook, all those things, and you'll be able to engage with other members of that group as well. So this is something I've wanted to do for a while. It's going to be exceptional. I'm really looking forward to engaging with more people, and it's going to help us start, hopefully, to switch this mindset now into actually creating a business, building brands, and making lots of sales. Okay, because that's what this is all about. Anyway, that's the kind of cringy pep talk out of the way here. So I've got the review for the software coming out on the 11th. It's going to give you my honest thoughts on it and why it may or may not be for you. But I'll see you in that video then.